Today's video is how to replace a leaking or dripping faucet. This is a single handle Delta faucet and has a soap dispenser here on the side. If you're like everybody else, you buy your house, you don't build it, you don't really know what kind of faucet you have, but when it leaks, you know you want to fix it. So what I'm going to do today is show you how to fix this, but I'm also going to go through some of the things I learned during this process. So process number one is to turn off the water. Turn off both sides. Underneath the sink, there's a hot water source and a cold water source. Turn off both of those water sources. Once they're turned off, you should be able to check it. Open it, make sure no water's coming out. Another tip is to put something over the sink drains to be sure if you drop one of these small parts, you don't lose it in the sink drain. So when you are turning off the water, something to look for is a couple of things. Number one is the supply lines. That's the part that goes from the water where you just turned it off. There's a valve there up to the bottom of this part here. They're either metal supply lines or they're plastic supply lines. According to Delta, if those are metal supply lines, your faucet here inside this bonnet, this is called, will have seats and springs. As you can see here at my local Do It Best hardware store, these seats and springs, I'll try to get a little closer, you can see little rubber gaskets, little metal springs, and there's different sizes. I went to the hardware store and I said, I don't know what sink it is, give me what you have. So for, you know, $3, $5, I was able to get seats and springs, a couple different sets. But that wasn't the type sink I had. Mine had what they call a cartridge instead. So if it's metal supply lines, you'll have seats and springs. If you have plastic supply lines, you'll have a cartridge instead. So I don't need these, I need this. Also on those supply lines, in my case those plastic supply lines, you'll have a little sticker attached to that supply line. On that sticker will be the label of what type sink it is, the model number and everything there. That'll let you know what sink you have so you can tell Delta exactly what you need. Most of these faucets have a warranty, many of them lifetime warranties, and you can send it back to Delta and get these parts at no charge. For example, this part here that I'm using to replace, the RP50587, is a $52 part. $3, $2 I can handle, but if I can get a $52 part for free, I want to let them send me that for free. It may take you a little longer to get the replacement done, but it's worth it to save $50 in my opinion. One thing also I found, I could not get my sink to turn off. It would go a little bit, you could get just here or just there, and finally you get it turned off. But eventually what I determined was if you turn off one side, either the hot water or the cold water, I could get it to turn off. So that might be a tip that you can use to get you all the way to waiting on Delta to send you the cartridge if that's what you need. All right, so let's get on to it. Very simple replacement. Don't be afraid if you're not very handy. Anybody can do this. This is an Allen wrench. There's a little thing that goes over this. Somewhere along the way it had fallen out. It had a red and a blue indicator there, but it's mainly just to cover this little Allen that goes right there. So once you get that loose enough, that'll come off. I just leave it on my Allen wrench like so, and I set that aside. That's what you don't want to fall down in your sink. This pulls straight off. Once you get that off, set it to the side, and you see this. Some of these pull straight off, most of them will spin. This is called a bonnet. This bonnet is threaded way up in there, and it screws onto this part right here. Now this part, you can see, I hope you can see, it has little places you can grab it with a wrench or a set of channel locks is what I use. Be careful not to torque on that too much, because you don't want to break this off. So you're just going to set it right there on that, and I'm going to turn. I've already taken this apart 3 times, so I didn't have to turn it very hard. If yours has been sitting for 15 years without ever being turned, you may have to put some torque on that to get it to come loose. But in my case, again, this is the 3rd or 4th time I've done this, so it comes loose pretty well. All right, so once this is loosened, you can just turn, and this is going to come out. Again, I've taken this off 3 times now. Mine is already loose. You may have to break this seal where this is sitting right there. Also important to notice, you've got this thing right here. This is a anti-scald, I think it's called. You can put this where you want to put it to allow how much hot water will actually flow through. I'm pretty sure you want it turned all the way to the left for the most amount of hot water, and you can click it in the middle there or all the way over like that. So I'm going to put it all the way left. I want as much hot water as possible. This right here will also pull up a little bit. I'll pull this up so you can see it. And you can see, if I pull those up, you can see this plastic supply lines there. You can see. Delta may get you, if you get on the phone, they say, well, take it apart and look to pull it up and see that you can see these 3 supply lines, because this comes up here, and what this cartridge does, it's a mixer. It mixes your hot and your cold to get the exact amount that this happens. I'm going to go ahead and take this apart. You don't have to take this apart, but in case you want to see what it looks like, I want you to see what it looks like. So when you take this apart, what you'll see is this ball and valve here, this goes up in here. This is what is controlling that water to turn it on and off. If it were a seat and spring, this would push those seats and springs down in this hole to stop it. In this case, this cartridge, that has done this. I don't know what it looked like before, but it's obviously worn because there's pieces of this white material kind of everywhere. So that's telling me it's kind of worn out. So I can see here, this is where that sticks to that, and it controls your mix here, how much hot and cold water you get. So what happens, this wears out and it stops seating and it stops turning off that water. So again, I didn't have to take that apart. This cartridge comes complete like this. It just fits back down there like so. Now, what Delta told me is they didn't want to send me just the cartridge. So they're sending me a new one of these. I don't know if they were sending me a new one of those or not, but this is 2020. I don't know when you're watching this video, but everything's on kind of back order and stuff right now. So I got the cartridge like 3 days later. But the other pieces she said she was sending, I didn't get yet. So I need this. I'm going to put that on there, and I'll wait on the other pieces. I may or may not replace them when they come in. So I'm going to tighten this up. One thing I have to tell myself, and I'll tell you, is you don't want to over tighten that. Well, what's over tightened? Well, when it breaks. What's tight enough? When it doesn't leak. So it's one of those things where you don't really know for sure, but you want to get that tight enough that it seals, because you don't want to get water leaking around this area, right? And you don't want water seeping through there. So you want to get it good and tight, but don't over tighten it. It will break. This slides back. Oh, almost forgot a piece. That piece goes on next. Spin it down. Same thing. This is not holding any water. There's nothing watertight about this. Don't over tighten this piece here. Put the lever on there and tighten this back down. Oh, that's why you cover your sinkhole up. Make sure I got it covered up. It's separated. So we'll put this back in here. The folks at Delta were super nice. I had to hold for a long time, but they were super nice. And she said, I'll send you this little piece that you're missing to make sure we get that covered up too. All right, so I'm gonna take my stoppers out of the sink. If you have stoppers, you can stop your sink up, and that would also prevent you from losing parts. I've got it in the off position. I'm gonna turn my cold water on first. Check for drips. I don't have anything. Turn on my hot water. Check for drips, and I'm good. So now, turn it back on. I got hot water. Good. I got cold water, and I've got what's the hot water and cold water mixed together? Is that medium water? I got warm water. Push it down, it turns it off. That's what it wasn't doing before. Before you'd turn it, you'd push it all the way down, it would still be going drip, 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 like that. So if you have a drippy faucet, there's a couple of ways to fix it. Either the seats and springs or the cartridge. This one, RP 50587, $52. Plastic supply lines equals cartridge, I'm told. Metal supply lines equals seats and springs. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, click like, subscribe, check out the other material on my channel.